All right, Mike. Well, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for being a little bit late. We talk about technical difficulties. It does add to stress, and that's a great thing to talk about today. When we think about this from the standpoint of, the COVID-19, I mean, for the beginning of this year, I mean, we talk about it. We're in the month of June now. We've had a lot of challenges, and we've heard about this COVID, and we've heard about, contracting or getting this virus, and we've heard about that, we are in a recession now. A lot of people have lost their job, and this leads to a lot of stress. And now we also talk about the demonstrations, and we also talk about the discord. We also talk about the focus on the political divide. And this again is causing stress. And I got to tell you, I am excited today to talk to my friend Mike Tegman. And he's got a great new book out called Supercharge Your Stress Management in the Time of COVID-19 that he wrote with Sasha Leibowitz. Mike, I want to thank you for joining me. And I think we're going to have a great discussion. And, for the people who are in EMS, we know each other, right? We've known each other for many, many years, but there are people that are outside
for like half my life, I think.
That's right. Well, I hope not half, but for the people that don't know you, Mike, maybe give them just a little bit about who you are.
I am. Thank you, Chris. It's exciting to be here with you. I am an old paramedic who currently works at a company called First Watch, do real-time data analytics and performance improvement support, and I also teach graduate school at University of California, San Francisco, and University of Maryland, Baltimore County. So I covered both coasts, and I have and throughout my career really been interested in stress management. And I also, as a boss, I apologize to some of the people I used to work with who are on the live chat right now. I've probably caused a fair amount of stress in addition to helping people ease it. So over the years.
Mike, I think that, we think about this book and how timely that it is. And, you kind of heard the opening a little bit, right? I mean, we're stressed. We're feeling it. We have to manage this stress. We may not even know that we're stressed. But I think from your side, one of the things that I like to ask authors all the time is supercharge your stress management in the time of COVID-19. What was the catalyst for writing this book?
Chris, people who are involved in emergency services and healthcare, they had stress and anxiety and PTSD and were more likely to hurt themselves than the base population well before COVID hit. And COVID just added to an already stressful world and stressful life. I was, talking to friends of mine who were, in PPE, nonstop with the goggles and the mask and the face shields and the triple gloves and the gowns, and emergency departments and in critical care units. To the point where it's like they wouldn't want to drink water because they didn't want to, be able to go to the bathroom and pee and have to take their PPE off and doff and don, and talking with other friends. I had a police sergeant, a friend of mine on the East Coast, whose husband has got cancer, and she's like terrified of going to work and accidentally catching the virus and bringing it home to her husband. And I could go on for hours on the countless stories of people who were just like, filled with anxiety, and it's not about something abstract, it's something very real.
Yeah. And when we think about this from that stress management standpoint, your experience is in EMS, my experience is EMS. We have a lot of friends that work in the healthcare field, whether it's the hospital, whether it's urgent, but this just isn't a healthcare issue, Mike.
It's got everybody. It has got everybody. Certainly, I mean, just in my 8-year-old son who was just in here and said hello to you a minute ago. Within his class and his, class's families and parents, just trying to negotiate, the loneliness or play dates, or is it safe to go to the beach, and, can we get takeout food? And it's on everybody's mind.
And I think that one of the things that we want to be able to look at is how do we manage this stress? And I think first off, how do we make the determination? I think that this is a great question. Because, being a paramedic, I never thought that I would feel stress. But how do you know when you're stressed, Mike? Well, what are the keys? What are the signs?
It's a good question. And those of you, if you want to go into the chat here a little bit and participate with us a little bit, but just, kind of asking that question to yourself of, have you been a little more irritated lately? Have you been quicker to snap? When little things happen that cause you to get upset, do you take a longer time to recover? and it creeps in kind of subtle ways. Um, certainly increased heart rate and more sweaty palms and just kind of a little quicker on the trigger, if you will.
One of the things that I've noticed in myself, and when you think about it, I try to be as creative as I can be throughout the day. And I think that one of the things that I really look at is when I have trouble concentrating, I've realized that that's my stress point. I've realized that when I have trouble really trying to put myself in a position to understand what's going on at my desk, those are my stress indicators. And I don't know if you have a sense of this, Mike, but is it like, your feelings of anything else? Do we get the same types of symptoms of stress as our body is made up? Will it just be that as soon as I feel that I'm confused or I can't focus, that I'm stressed, or can they come in anything?
Emotions show up in a lot of different ways, and it's one of the things that's really cool about stress. And stress, all stress isn't bad, but one of the things that's cool about it is it feels very similar to excitement. You get a rapid heart rate. You get peripheral vasoconstriction a little bit, so your blood is going to your major muscle groups. You really focus your attention. You've heard of tunnel vision, which people talk a lot about, and that stuff kind of all works together and can help protect you if you're being threatened from something that is really likely to hurt you. And it also is kind of the energy you need in order to accomplish something that's challenging. So one of the tricks in stress management is to kind of catch that fear and anxiety a little bit, and just in your mind, see if you can turn it into the feeling of excitement. Your body processes what's called threat stress, that stress that's associated with protecting yourself, and challenge stress, that stress that's associated with excitement, very differently. That threat stress leads to heart disease and diabetes and cancer and all these autoimmune diseases and depression and anxiety and those kinds of things, where the challenge stress leads you to increased performance. It actually builds your resilience and increases your physiologic and psychological health overall.
When we think about this from a biological standpoint, I mean, we really have no choice but to feel this stress, right? This is how our body is made up. And it's part of we talk about the fight or flight, and this is controlled by, a little bit of biology here, Mike. It's controlled by the limbic system. But why is stress important? Because we do need a certain amount of stress to keep ourselves on an even keel, don't we?
Well, you think about it. If you're going to go to the grocery store today, and you're going to wear a mask and keep 6 feet apart, it is a little bit of stress that causes you to put your mask on, causes you to maintain the 6 foot distance. It's a little bit of stress that when you're driving on the highway keeps you a reasonable following distance behind the car in front of you. That little bit of feedback through your neurologic system is essential to keeping us alive. And it's just when it is, chronic and ongoing, and the difference between all mammals and human beings is all mammals have the same stress response built into our neurologic system and our biology. But humans have this big brain where we can imagine all kinds of stressors that may not actually exist, or continue to relive stressors that have happened over and over again, and kind of fill our bodies full of all these toxic chemicals that cause real harm and are the root of probably 75 or 80% of disease, and are the path to chronic disease throughout our country and our world.
Yeah. So when we think about this I think there's a couple different types of stress that we can have. We could have acute stress, where we're feeling it right now. We could have chronic stress, which is something but this really kind of leads to a lot of different things, and you alluded to it before. So if we think about some of these symptoms, you talk about high blood pressure, you talk about anxiety. Anxiety attacks are big. I mean, I can't count the number of times that we've gone to people's homes because they thought they were having the big one. Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you, honey. And those are for the old people that know that TV show.
Yep.
But I mean, what are some of the symptoms that we get to feel that could really affect our not only our mental health, Mike, but our physical health?
So, certainly the increased heart rate. Some people feel chest pressure, and it's hard to differentiate between something that is anxiety and something that may be actually a cardiac event. And the old paramedic advice is If you're feeling pressure in your chest or pain in your chest, now's the time to dial 911. It is not a time to try to talk yourself into it only being anxiety, particularly if you're of a certain age. Um, so that's one part of it. Another part for me, I notice my peripheral vision gets fuzzy as I first start to get stressed, and also my my lens about how I see the world. It's like, wait a minute, I thought you were going to bring the dishes in after dinner, and that I'll irritate. It's like, why would that ever irritate me? But tonight, it's irritating me, and so that kind of catching those things and noticing those things give you a sense that maybe it's time to dial your stress response down a little bit.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too where we think about it from a stress standpoint. Emotional intelligence is a big component when it comes to stress management because this is really managing your emotions. And when you start to feel, I mean, we can't help but get angry, feel that anger because again, the limbic system, fight or flight, or the stress, we're going to feel it because it's going through the limbic system, and we're really waiting for it to get to our frontal lobe so we can make sense of it. How important is self-awareness in this stress management?
Well, it's critical, and it is absolutely a key part of Dan Goleman's framework for emotional intelligence. And that you mentioned the prefrontal lobes of your neocortex, and that's that part of your brain right behind your forehead here, which is also known as the executive center. Some people describe it as the smart brain. And during times of stress, chemicals actually hijack the prefrontal lobes of your neocortex, and they decrease your ability to access logic, reasoning, impulse control, those kinds of things. So one of the benefits of doing a stress management strategy to kind of dial down your stress response, and we can do one right here real quick. And this is everybody breathes all the time, right? So they refer to it as tactical breathing. Actually, in this book on combat, Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman describes this tactical breathing. And it is just taking a breath in for a count of 4. 2, 3, 4. Hold it for a count of 4. Blow it out for a count of 4. And hold it out for a count of 4. And then repeat. And doing that changes the chemistry in your blood system and your brain to give you more access to that smarter part of your brain. Your ability to access memory and produce skills and make good decisions is very much dependent on your state. And if you are energized but relaxed and aware and alert, you will make much better decisions, take better actions in the world than if you're in a panic situation. And most of us who've worked in healthcare and emergency services have experience with people who are in a full-blown panic attack or anxiety attack or a really got a serious emotional hijacking going on, and the things they say and the way they try to make decisions are oftentimes just not helpful. They don't get them the relief or the solution they're looking for.
So when we think about this from I think we've really kind of talked about what it is and how it reacts and how it, makes us feel. I really want to kind of focus the discussion now on what we need to do about it. Let's go ahead and take it from, I mean, you've got a lot of experience as a consultant, as a leadership expert in really kind of helping us maximize our leadership. And when we talk about leadership, it's a verb, it's not a noun.
Yes.
Our leadership in how we guide our workforce the best, right? So now if I'm a leader and I'm working in this space, what's the best things that I could do to help, promote stress management for my team?
So that's a great question, Chris. And there's a couple of parts to the answer. One is I think it's important to kind of put this in context a little bit. So if you imagine driving down the road of life, there's 3 components related to stress, 3 big buckets. There's resilience, which is building physical, mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual strength so that you can get into a stressful situation and be okay. There are stress management tactics and techniques that allow you to manage your stress in the moment when you're having it. And if you end up with some kind of a psychological injury or anxiety or depression or something on the other side of a stressful event, PTSD or something like that, Then there's the trauma-informed therapy that is on the other side of things for people that need it. But most of us need resilience and stress management techniques. And if you haven't had a chance to build your resilience before this, using the stress management techniques is kind of what you've got in the moment. And from a leadership perspective, you mentioned the limbic system earlier, and when you look at the limbic system on drawings and books and that kind of stuff, it looks like it's enskulled, right? It looks like it's in your skull. And in reality, the limbic system, there's an open loop nature to the limbic system. So your presence has an impact on other people's stress level. It has an impact on their immune system. It has an impact on their cardiovascular system. The research around this is just fascinating. And this is the practice that parents use to calm an upset child. When the child's upset, and you go connect with them, you use your presence to calm them. It is the open loop nature of the limbic system that allows you to do that. And there's an old bit of advice that those of you that are in healthcare remember. And I had a friend who described the story recently when he was a brand new resident, and he was carrying the pager, the house pager, for the first time as a resident in the hospital in New York City. And he got his mentor, the person who was above him as attending physician, said, when you get a page for a cardiac arrest, for a core, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to stop and feel your pulse, and don't go to the core until your pulse is under 100. Take a breath, take a couple of breaths, let your pulse get under 100, and don't go to the cardiac arrest until you're under 100. And then you can go. And my friend was like, really? And he said, yes, because if you go when your pulse is 140 and you're a little excited and jacked about your first one and whatnot, your ability to access those parts of your brain that are vital are not available to you. And when you're going as the doctor, you're kind of like leading the rest of the team. And you want your system to be calm so that you project calm. Calm is contagious. Chris, I know you've been in meetings where it'd be a group of people and one person will yawn, and then pretty much soon, so like everybody's yawning, and pretty soon everybody's like ready for a nap, right? It's that contagious nature of emotions. And leaders need to understand the contagious nature of their emotions. And that interpersonal limbic regulation has a little bit to do with hierarchy. So parents are more likely to regulate their kids' limbic systems and emotional response than kids are to regulate their parents. Some of you are thinking about kids that are driving you nuts right now. So it's not 100% one way or the other. Right. And leaders have a bigger impact on the emotional regulation of their teammates than people in the team do on the leader. So as a leader, you have a responsibility. I think of it like you're riding in the front car of a roller coaster. And if your emotions are going up and down and twisting and turning, everybody behind you is going through all of those kind of same flips and turns. Whereas if you can kind of center yourself and find an easy track, it doesn't guarantee everybody's going to be not stressed, but it really increases the chance that people can find their own calm space and work from that perspective. Does that answer your question?
No, I think it does. And I think that was really great detailed answer, because there were a lot of things in there. I think we think that this is an easy process, and it really isn't. But I do want to switch gears a little bit here,
Yep.
because not everybody out there is in a leadership position that's able to influence the people that they work with. But, you're a parent. Now, when we start to talk about stress in our own homes, Mike, as a single parent, as a father, how do I deal with that? And if I know that my kids are getting stressed, if I know that my spouse, my significant other is getting stressed, do I work it the same way?
It's a great question, and actually, the sympathetic nervous system and the limbic system works the same in families as it does in organizations. Don't try to be a boss in your home. I'm just a little bit of warning. And I'm not a single father. I am a married father with a wife in the next room who may be watching this actually. And so, honey, I know we're good. Everything's good. But the one of the key aspects of that is that how you take care of yourself affects how you take care of others. And when my wife Sasha and I got married, one of our we had 3 wedding vows, and our first wedding vow was, I will take care of myself so that I can take care of you, and our family. But the first is self-care. And then the last of our three vows was, I will work with you as my partner to make the world a better place. And that's why we co-authored this book, and that's part of the strategy here. And our publishing company's name is Vow 3 Publishing, so you get the sense of that. But it seems selfish, but a lot of parents and partners will run around and really focus on taking care of everybody else and making sure everybody else is okay. And the first rule is, you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta take care of yourself first, because that becomes contagious. And then the techniques for stress management, they're ones you can do as a family and as a team. And go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I think that's a great segue. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was going to say that now that we've gotten to that point, what are those techniques that can help us with our stress management?
There are dozens. One of my favorite ones that we do as a family is the practice of gratitude. And there's really interesting neuroscience around gratitude and the practice of gratitude, and how it decreases your sympathetic nervous system response and nurtures your joy and happiness in the world. And so one of the things we do is we'll do like a gratitude list, and where we each of us get to list 3 things that we're grateful for. And one of my favorite practices now is, it's everybody's washing their hands right now a lot, right? And it's a little disturbing to me how many people have just recently discovered hand washing as a thing since COVID-19 hit. But the way one of the recommendations is you're supposed to sing the happy birthday song, right? While you're washing your hands, so you get the full 20 seconds. My son sings the Baby Shark song, which I apologize. Many of you will have that song stuck in your head for the next few hours, and I that's the way our limbic systems work. I apologize for that. But one of the things I've been doing is practicing gratitude. And as I'm washing my hands, in my left hand, I think of something I'm grateful to myself for. And that, when you first start doing that, seems weird. It just seems weird to say things to yourself that you're grateful for. You don't have to tell anybody else. But the practice of self-gratitude is powerful and transformative. And then on the other hand, I try to think of something I am grateful for. And when I was washing my hands before coming on this podcast, in my right hand, my gratitude was for you, Chris, for the books you've published, for our longtime friendship, for you inviting me to join you on your show here. And I have a deep gratitude for everybody out there who's listening. All of you who are participating in this. I have incredible gratitude for your interest in managing your own stress, hopefully managing the stress of the people you love and care about and work with, and in these times of divisiveness and the real surfacing of racism that's existed for so long in our country, and all the different perspectives, from friends of mine who are actively protesting, to friends of mine who are on the law enforcement side and responding to these protests. It doesn't matter what your perspective is. Everybody is feeling the anxiety and stress of all these people. So I'm grateful for all of you for being willing to take action, to learn about some things, and to dial your own stress response down.
Yeah. So supercharge your stress management in the time of COVID-19. It is out now. I want to talk about where to get it. You've got the audiobook is in post-production. Kindle will be out next week.
Kindle's out now.
Oh, is it? Okay,
Kindle's out now. The paper book is out now. It's on Amazon. It's on our website. You can order those right now. Right now. No, it's I suck at this whole sales thing. I apologize.
Yeah.
And audiobook.
Just to let people, all the proceeds go to taking care of kids. By the way, yours. So I think that.
Well, there's that, but if you go to our website, combatcovidstress.com, and you buy it through the area bookstore, there's a way that when you buy the book, you make a donation to the All Clear Foundation, which, if you're not familiar with the All Clear Foundation, Google it. It's allclearfoundation.org. It's a remarkable organization that provides probably the best accumulation of resources for folks that work in emergency services to take care of their own stress and hook up with counselors and those kinds of things on the other side of stressful issues. So we're doing fundraising. Our objective is to help everybody feel better, and improve their health, dial things down, improve their ability to relate to other folks. And these techniques they're research based. They're designed through a neuroscience lens, and they work. And they work in all kinds of circumstances, and they'll help you in your life in so many different ways.
Yeah, Mike, I think your book is very timely. I think it's a great resource, and it's one of those things where we don't pay a lot of attention to. And since we don't pay a lot of attention to, we're behind the eight ball when it comes to our stress management. So I want to thank you very much, and Sasha, for really bringing this resource to us. And I think that the eventuality is, supercharge your stress management in the time of COVID-19. This really needs to be a generational book because it's got so many great tips. It's got a lot of tools, but it's something we've got to pay attention to from really this point forward.
Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate your having me on here and sharing this message with your massive following.
Thank you so much. And for everybody out there, man, think about your stress management and how are you going to maintain that? And it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say I'm stressed. It's okay to say, I'm not feeling my best. And you've got to admit that you got a problem so you can work through that. And I think that that's okay. There's this myth in society that you have to be mentally strong and you can't be weak. Well, you know what? We all have a little bit of that, and we've got to be able to make certain that we're getting the tools. And Mike, go ahead and give everybody a final thought as we start to sign off here.
Well, as you mentioned it, stress has nothing to do with weakness, and being able to manage your stress and channel it to achieve good potential and to perform well is actually one of the strongest things a person can possibly do. So I thank you once again.
All righty. Everybody, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.